Float Left Labs is a newly formed nonprofit company with the aim to provide media resources such as web design and development, video production, and even print to other nonprofit and local organizations. Float Left Labs staff will work with the organizations to determine the project needs and requirements in order to devise the best plan of action, whether web-based social media or print-based marketing material. First thought is usually, oh great, another nonprofit. There are currently roughly 2,000 nonprofits in the state. Do we really need another? The answer is yes, if they provide a valuable resource. Building awareness is the top priority of most nonprofits, regardless of their size or operating budget. While there are some large nonprofits in New Hampshire, mostly hospitals, 48% of our state's nonprofits have an annual expenditure less than $100,000, and only 16% have an annual expenditure greater than $1 million. Media and advertising is a valuable resource that most nonprofits do not have the staff for and cannot afford to hire an agency to accomplish. This is evident in the statistic that most of the public knowledge about a nonprofit is more than 10 years old. How will we be able to afford to do this work? In two ways. First, we will employ fellowship college students who, although paid, work at a significantly discounted rate than most professionals. Second, we will help the nonprofits obtain funding using grants and online fundraising to help increase their budget for marketing and specific projects. New Hampshire is home to 285 grant-lending foundations, giving approximately $57 million combined each year. Now let's approach the company another way. Float Left Labs is a student-run company, employing fellowship students, helping them pay for their education while developing valuable skills, connections, and resources. One of the primary focuses of the company is to expose students to local companies by use of a mentor system. Sponsoring companies will provide mentors who will help guide project development by being a sounding board for ideas. This mentor system also provides a great talent pool for sponsoring companies to pull upon for future employees. Graduating students will be encouraged to look at sponsoring companies for employment, thus helping to fulfill the 55 initiative. Students will also be given resources from companies beyond our state. Places like Microsoft, O'Reilly, and Opera have agreed to partner with us by providing software, books, conference passes, and mentors. Now, most students really get involved when there is something they initiate, and that's where the third benefit of Float Left Labs comes in. Float Left Labs will reinvest 40% of its retained earnings into student-chosen and created projects for the community. This not only helps the greater community in New Hampshire, but also reinforces the relationships and portfolio the students have created. Why this approach? New Hampshire is losing its most creative young minds because they are not encouraged in their own projects and don't have connections to find jobs here. Two immediate examples which come to mind are Chris Messina and Mark Zuckerberg. Chris Messina is an open source advocate, spearheading movements such as Barcamp, co-working, microformats, and OpenID. He has spoken and gained recognition at dozens of conferences around the world. He grew up right in Bedford and went to high school at West High. Mark Zuckerberg is an even bigger name, creating the social networking site Facebook, which is valued over $3.75 billion and employs 700 people. Mark Zuckerberg went to high school in Exeter. Can you imagine if he stayed in New Hampshire? These two are just a small representation of the young technology professionals who have left the state. Float Left Labs' approach aims to address these losses by mentoring and investing in student projects. So, how can we measure success? In the first 3 years, Float Left Labs will have employed 27 college students, capping over 60 by 10 years. This will equate to assisting roughly 100 nonprofit organizations. Float Left Labs will have an anticipated retained earnings of over $360,000, which means over $140,000 reinvested back into student-chosen community projects. If only 7 of those 27 students stay within the state for an additional 3 years after graduating, Their combined salary equates to $1 million. That's an additional $1 million being spent in local businesses, local real estate, and taxes. This doesn't even touch upon these professionals' continued involvement with the organizations they worked with while at Float Left Labs. The effect Float Left Labs' work is going to have on the audience of the client organizations, or even the money the partner companies are going to save in headhunting and training. Now, it's easy to talk numbers when they're theoretical, but this is a company model that has already been proven. ASAP Media Services is a student-run company located at the University of Maine in Orono. In its more than 20 years of existence, ASAP has spawned a university department, worked on projects for the Department of Defense, and more recently been featured in USA Today for a research and development project. We have already raised $25,000, which is helping us secure the office space, purchase the hardware and software we need, and allowing us to focus on developing partnerships and mentors. We're now asking for your financial support. $300 would be enough to build the first digital whiteboard system for a local school, the first student project. $1,000 would allow us to build and install 10 more of these systems. $10,000 would fund one student's work for a full year, and $18,000 would provide all of the students a place to work and other resources for that year. Regardless of what you can afford to give, you will know it is being put to good use, helping worthy students pay for college, assisting local nonprofits gain exposure they need, and supporting our local and developing community. Thank you very much for your time.